Our group is going to explain the 5 phases of oppression. These 5 include exploitation, marginalization, powerlessness, cultural imperialism, and violence. Now, let's start with exploitation. Exploitation is defined as using the labor of one social group to benefit another. One example of exploitation could be in a business. Your boss makes you work long hours and sometimes overtime without proper compensation. Although you are paid for your efforts, they are not fair considering how much money you make for the company.
Members of some groups live with the knowledge that they must fear random unprovoked attacks on their persons or property. The rate of intimate partner victimizations for females was 4.3 victimizations per 1,000 females aged 12 or older. The equivalent rate of intimate partner violence against males was 0.8 victimizations per 1,000 males aged 12 or older. Women are members of a subordinate group. They are often victims of violent crimes because of their group membership. African Americans are also members of a subordinate group and therefore must fear acts of random violence against them. The number of black people killed by whites, a demographic in the FBI report that includes those of Hispanic descent, surged by nearly a quarter in 2015 from the year before, as the number of whites killed by blacks jumped 12%. Together, such interracial killings increased about 13% from 2014.
The third phase of oppression is powerlessness. To lack power, influence, or ability. Specifically in this capitalistic society, workers are exploited so that their higher-ups can profit off of their labor. Powerlessness and exploitation are very similar phases in the 5 phases of oppression. For someone to feel powerless or to suffer from powerlessness, they are often exploited by someone with more power than them.
Another phase of oppression is cultural imperialism, which can be defined as the establishment of the dominant culture as the norm. An example of cultural imperialism can be that a girl is making fun of another girl for wearing different clothing than she is. This brings the oppressed group to a paradoxical oppression where the oppressed are both marked out due to their differences, as well as rendered invisible to the eyes of their oppressors. This prevents the individual from being able to see from a different perspective and will oppose other perspectives that they don't see fit. Instead of a melting pot, cultural imperialism will erase any submissive culture until there is only the dominant culture remaining.
Marginalization is defined as the treatment of a person, group, or concept as insignificant or peripheral. This phenomenon predominantly happens when a minority or subgroup is excluded and their wants and needs are ignored. People in marginalized groups are typically racially marked, including African Americans, Latin Americans, Native Americans, and so on. Other marginalized groups include the mentally and physically disabled, the homeless, and old people. In the United States, these are the groups that the system of labor cannot or will not use. This makes marginalization one of the most dangerous forms of oppression because they are being deprived of a valuable aspect of society. When these groups are marginalized, they are then potentially subject to severe material deprivation and possibly even extermination. Material deprivation is when individuals are unable to afford goods or activities that are common in everyday life. This causes a huge problem for households that are deprived, especially when living in a society where others have an abundance of goods.
Created using Powtoon.